40 podcast. I am Amisha Graham. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We have weekly episodes every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can also catch us on Sunday on Instagram with Self Care Sunday live at 12 p.m., where we go over different tips on self care. And this week we have two special guests that will be on the live with me. So tune in on Sunday at 12 p.m., and that's on Instagram. And today we have a special guest with us, and we're talking about good mental health, and it's a very needed topic in today's society. So we have Miss Dr. Tasha Harris with us today, and I'm going to let her introduce herself and give us a little feedback. Not feedback, but a little introduction of what she do and her business and everything. Thank you for joining, Dr. Tasha Harris.
Not a problem. Thank you so much for having me. I am Dr. Latasha Harris. I just got married, so I'm still getting used to that last name. I am the founder of Drive By Therapy.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. That is my brand, Drive By Therapy. I am a doctor of clinical psychology, and I've learned that my specialty is like how unresolved childhood trauma affects your romantic relationships. I specialize definitely in grief work, couples work, and kind of like that moment of like where you have to learn how to do it scared when it comes to your dreams.
Yes.
Almost like some people call them like, life coaches or success coaches. I've heard all the different sexy words, but the idea is that like how to keep you from getting stuck, not staying stuck, and to try to do it scared. That's another thing that I know I always try my best to help with my patients. But any family interventions that folks want to talk about, anxiety, depression, avoidance, anger, abandonment, neglect, all of the above topics for me are definitely, there's no topic that is off.
Yes.
That off limits from actually addressing. So anything you have to ask me, I'm ready to answer.
Okay. And I see your drive-through therapy.
Drive by therapy.
Drive-by therapy. I thought that was like when I saw the name and when someone gave me your information to reach out to you, I was like, wow, that is cool. Drive-by therapy. Like, so can you give us a little, is it actually that way? How is you come into an office and sit with you?
Oh, good question. So I do have my own office in South Florida in Tamarack off of Commercial and 441 for those that are in South Florida. But I talk to people from Texas to Chicago to Jersey from Cali to Singapore
I
to
get it
Japan.
now. Okay.
And so, but the coolest thing is for those that specifically appreciate the drive-by luxury, I do make drive-bys, and I always like to talk to people basically on that same couch that you might have been arguing with your spouse on the night before. So I also make house calls.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's cool to know. That's awesome to know. Why do you think, why do you think people don't believe in mental health? Is it because they're scared of what society is going to think of them, or they just have such a negative thought on it, with the
they've
whole
been
mental
taught. Yeah, they've been taught.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
they've been taught to first think, I'm not crazy, right? Isn't that the first thing that we are told? Not to mention, a lot of people are taught to not trust people outside of the household, even though a lot of times there's a lot of trust that's been broken within the household. And so you also have to unlearn the idea of like everybody outside of the household is not bad. There's a lot of us beautiful professionals and clinicians that actually love our job and try to help people to heal. And so a lot of times we just need you to get past that stigma of there's something wrong with you if you have to talk to somebody.
Yes, because I think a lot of people are afraid to talk to someone because, like you said, the trust part. Sometimes you talk to your friend or whoever is close to you at that moment about things, and then once that trust is broken, people don't want to open up to anyone else. So automatically they think everyone is going to,
That is true. That one injury in relationship sometimes stifles you for life.
Yeah, yeah, and I have heard that happen to a lot of people, and so yeah, I think that's good, and I think society um need to understand mental health is really real, because I work with me and my mom have an agency where we work with adults with developmental disability and mental health. So
Oh, you see a lot.
yes, so it is scary, and then you see it's a lot on just on the street and every day. Like you're driving and you're in your car and you see, and it's a lot with young people, and it's just like, okay, what happened? Like what, like this, did the parent or who the guardian didn't see these things at an early age, or they saw it at an early age but in such in denial that, okay, my child or whoever that person is raising at the time don't want to take, like something could actually be wrong. And I think that's not fair when parents or whoever is raising a child may see some of the symptoms at an early age, but don't want to get the help for that individual for when they become an adult. And now they're an adult, they don't know how to get the proper help.
At all. No, you're so right.
So I just think, we need to do, as society, we need to do better with the mental health part. If you see someone may need some direction on to getting the proper help, is ways of approaching people, talking to them. And once someone feel comfortable talking to you and opening up with you, sometimes they may feel even more comfortable for you to say, hey, maybe you should go talk to someone, maybe I can go with you, because sometimes people are just afraid to just go.
It's true. And I have a few people that are either my patients or that just know me and what I do, and they'll sponsor like one session for their brother, for their mother, for their
Uh-huh.
sister, for their friend, and then just to get it started. And then the person will continue with me for like another 6 months to a year. And so I think that is a very cool, like even Christmas gift. Could you imagine that I just
Yes.
want you to go and just do this one time? If you don't like it, you don't worry about it and I'll pay for it. But yeah, just to either go with or to at least sponsor. I have
Yeah,
seen it work.
I think that's awesome, because forget about, if with this whole pandemic going on for the last 2 years, say 2 years, because it's 2 years already been going on. Like if you're in the same like mental headspace than you were before, like something is really wrong with you, because like this has took a real toll on people, and some people don't know how to recover from it. They maybe already was dealing with some things prior to the pandemic, and then now the pandemic happened, so it
Oh yeah, the
really.
pandemic has got a lot of folks come out the woodwork of just finally in their mind saying like, you know what, maybe I'm not okay. All this time I have been, having other outlets to keep me busy and distracted. That
Mm-hmm.
now that I don't have those, I'm starting to have to be in my own thoughts, and I don't think I like them. Like a lot of folks, a lot of relationships either broke up, a lot of marriages where there were divorces.
Mm-hmm.
Um, People learn more about their children that they didn't know. That now respect the teachers, and so yeah, the pandemic. For instance, my brand right now,
Mm-hmm.
or my private practice is booked for 2 months. So the first,
Wow.
like someone could call in November, and then I'll tell them their first available date to see me would be January. And so, as much as it's nice for me to have a packed schedule,
Yes.
it's kind of it has only come out of this pandemic of folks that have been sitting with themselves and they're not okay.
No, they're not okay. A lot of people are not okay because, having to really deal with this and losing a lot of loved ones, and that took a whole toll on a lot of people, and not having to, like, just
Oh,
not knowing.
absolutely. The grief is no, it's that's a whole nother story. Even the social workers or the nurses who, they can't even put into words like all the trauma and PTSD that they feel even in their dream life, or
Yeah.
nightmare and night terrors going on at night from what they were not able to save. That's it. That's a whole nother conversation of the first responders.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Um. Let me ask you a question. What are some of the signs of, like, if someone maybe noticing changes with someone, a loved one or a friend, whoever, with with some changes. What are some of the like signs of mental health?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, there's a thing about sometimes the idea of depression and anxiety, right? So a lot of
Yes.
times with depression, sometimes you're sleeping too much or you're not sleeping at all because of the bracing thoughts or all the things that you're internalizing. Sometimes you're
Mm-hmm.
not wanting to work out. Sometimes you're not wanting to get dressed. You're not wanting to leave the
Mm-hmm.
house. You're literally amongst a crowd that's doing something that you normally are enjoying that you're doing, and or that an activity that you normally enjoy, and you can't find any excitement from it. Sometimes you can be in a room where you're feeling alone, even though there's like hella people around you.
Yes.
Depression actually can, like, it can really creep up on you in a way where you're just like, wow, I don't even know why I feel this low, possibly because you didn't acknowledge it when it was like at a 1 or a 2, that now that
Yes.
it's like an 8 or a 9, now you're like, something's really wrong with me. So I always tell people in the beginning, especially with depression and how it like crawls up quietly, and then it's like they're suffering right after, once you get to a place of like, this is hurting me daily, or I'm
Yes.
consumed with my past. um that's the time to talk to someone, or start writing, or start singing, or find
Yes.
someone to actually trust, to just see if they're actually feeling the same, if they felt this feeling before, and not feel judged. I think that's the hardest part, is when you want to share and you're just wondering someone's going to judge you. Another thing would be anxiety. So there's like the fear of the future, the fear of the unknown, that you're always catastrophizing. The word catastrophizing is a word that I use when I literally hear people will have one thing go wrong, and then their whole life is like, something's wrong with their whole life. Like, for instance, you ever had where, like, maybe you got a flat tire, or the battery of your car was dead, and you were late for a meeting, and then in your mind you're like, I'm going to lose my job. It's like, no, you're just late for the meeting. But to catastrophize is to make it greater than it actually is, that it
Mm-hmm.
becomes like a delusion that you believe as a reality, which is exactly
Yeah.
what anxiety is. And then there's avoidance, where you do the I'm fine thing, which, oh my God,
Yes.
I can't stand the I'm fine. And when I say I can't stand the I'm fine, meaning if you are on my couch, I don't allow you to be fine. Why are you here? You don't have to present as fine. You told the whole world you were fine all day, but I know that there is something wrong, or you wouldn't be looking at me. So I try my best to
Yeah.
get people to just acknowledge that you're not fine. And then what is it that you are? Are we sad? Are we mad? Are we worried? Are we concerned? Are we feeling guilty? Are we feeling ashamed? You know what I mean?
I think people feel ashamed because they're so afraid of the judgment part of it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, to even say to someone, like, I didn't realize. I know I'm putting this out there because whoever's listening, but hopefully it
Oh,
would.
set yourself free. You ain't even got to worry
Yes.
about the shame of sharing. Okay.
Mm. So a couple of years ago, I wasn't working, and I was just like trying to figure out things, find myself, whatever the case may be. And I noticed we was on a road trip, and it started raining, and I was fine with driving long distance, but this particular time, it's like I was terrified of driving on the
Mm.
on the highway, and it was raining, and it was me, my husband, and my mother driving, who was going out of town, and I had to stop. I like stopped in the middle of 95 because I was terrified. And I was just like, oh, I don't like this feeling. It was just like this unease feeling. And I was
Yep.
like, what
You
is
had almost
going
like a
on?
driving phobia. It was in your head.
And so, for a while, I was terrified. When it starts to rain, I would not drive. And so I was like, okay, I got to figure out what is really going on. So I went to the doctor, whatever. So the doctor was like, you have anxiety. And I was
Yep. And
like,
I'm so proud of the doctor for saying that, versus giving you a pill, that had nothing to do with how you were actually feeling, like the
and
internal.
so I was like, okay. So she's like, you gonna have to just like work your way through this. Like, when it do starts raining, just say, I can get through it. I can get through it, whatever, whatever. And so I was like, I want to share with someone. You know how you just want to share with friends, whatever. And then it's like, okay, I shared it. And it was just like, oh, that was the worst thing to do, because it comes, people have a tendency to bring things back that you share to them at the
Yeah, you're
wrong
right.
time. And it's just like, this is why people that's dealing with depression, anxiety, or just not feeling themselves is so afraid to call their homegirl or they whoever and say, you know what, something is wrong with me. Not like medically wrong. Well, yeah, but
Yeah,
something is
mentally, yeah,
mentally
emotionally or
wrong with me.
mentally.
And then now because now they feel like, okay, if I tell her or I tell him, they're gonna really judge me and think something like I'm crazy or I'm a different person. You're a human. We at the end of the day, we all have some type of mental something, because you can't just walk around life all day thinking that, with being overwhelmed with things. That's a part of mental health.
Oh, yes. And you know what? The best thing that almost sometimes set yourself free, and I do this in my own life, is to when I am overwhelmed or exhausted or tired, I just say it out loud. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that sounds so simple, but you know how, once again, if you don't say it out loud, then it's not really real. You in your mind are like thinking that you got this when sometimes you don't. You might really be breaking. Say it
Yeah.
out loud. I scream at my steering wheel all the time, and maybe once a month. And I'll say, "Oh my God, I'm overwhelmed." And I just will scream it, and
Yeah.
it allows me to just like, it's like a takes a little air out of the balloon, like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's how I
That
feel, and that's okay.
It's okay to be overwhelmed, and it's okay to identify that you're overwhelmed. And I had to learn that over time. My mom, my husband, close friends saying, "You should, if you're overwhelmed, say you overwhelmed. Say that you need help. It's okay to ask for help." And I thought asking for help is like, oh, she's weak. I can't do it. You can't be the super. It's okay not to be able to be superwoman all the time. It's
Oh my
okay.
God. First of all, that super ridiculousness. First of all, take off the cape. It's a fictional character. You know, I
Yes.
use that all the time. That actually was not the real dude. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like,
Yes.
he became regular after he took off the cape. Take off your cape, take off the S on your chest. Like, be like someone that actually has feelings. Even
Mm-hmm.
for men, I tell them all the time, like, being vulnerable for you guys, it's like no one allows it. We ask y'all to
Yeah.
fix everything. We want to always lean on you, but like, what if you're just not okay? Like, there
And
should be
a
room
lot
for
of
y'all
men,
to just not be okay.
yeah, and a lot of men are not okay. Like a lot of the TV shows lately been talking about how men are just overwhelmed too with the whole role of being the man of the house, um, trying to just take on a whole lot to make sure that he's being that good provider. That's a big role, to play, because you
Yes.
have individuals that's depending on you, and society has you to picture in this box that you're the man in the house, so you have to do this and this and this and this and this and that, and sometimes some people can't take on all those roles,
No, no, never. Or just, how about just you had a hard day at work, and sometimes there's no room for you to just say like, "Wow, my boss really hurt my feelings." What brother comes
Yes.
home and says that? Hardly
Mhm.
never, but they
Yeah.
get hurt. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? For all the
mhm.
microaggressions for the black brothers in the world that they have
Yes.
to deal with, just having to water themselves down to make sure everybody around them feels not intimidated. Like, are you kidding me? That's his
Yeah.
real life every day, to make sure
Yes.
you're okay.
Hmm.
Who's making sure he's okay?
Exactly. And then having to worry about driving because you don't know if you're gonna get, it's a lot of things that plays
Yeah, and that
in
goes
black
back to
meat.
that phobia, that right, because in your mind it could happen.
Hmm.
That's what fears do. They
Yeah.
become
So
real.
yeah, it's just, you know, people need to understand mental health is a part of like going to get a physical every year, or, going to get your teeth cleaned. It's a part of it's a part of the routine, your yearly routine. So if you go and speak to a therapist once a year, that's a big part, that's a big relief.
Yeah, once a year, once a month, when there's a crisis, I tell people all the time, I don't want you to see me for the next 5 years. I want to get you better. I want to find
Yes,
a way for you to
yes,
not be in my office all the time.
yes. Um, do you think when people don't deal with childhood trauma plays a big part on their mental health?
Oh my gosh, it's everything. It plays on, like, just let's talk about sexual abuse. It'll play on the
Oh,
way that you can actually enjoy consensual sex once you actually are of age and it's appropriate
mm-hmm.
because of the way that you were introduced to it.
Yes.
Even the way that they think of their bodies, and that's for boys and girls. That actually gets in all type of like the way of actually being able to be intimate or to be close to someone, or believing that however you are now seeing men or women, for whoever violated you, that becomes warped. So the way you approach the world is that people like this will do this. Could you imagine you're 8 years old or you're 12 years old and that's the way you're thinking of the world?
That's deep. That
Deep.
just did something to me. Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's every day. How
Yeah.
about neglect? I don't care if no one likes to say this when they're parent, it could be mother, single father, but you're the oldest and they're working so much and now you got to take care of the kids, and now you're like 30 or 40 years old and you actually don't want kids because you've been doing it since you were like 18. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Taking
I
that
know
desire
plenty of
away.
people. I know plenty of people
Plenty,
that
because
has
they had to
happened to.
mother. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
called being parentified. Or you had
Yeah.
a drug addict parent or an incarcerated parent where like you had to grow up like hella fast. But like
Yes.
that's not what now it's like you actually are trying to live your adult life and you're either semi bored, right? Because you felt like you've been an adult since you were 12, but you also
Yes.
haven't developed into anything that you're actually as proud of if you actually had more of a childhood, because you would have gone through all the stages, being able to depend on someone, to be a parentified child. And listen to that word, parentified. That means that you were doing adult things as a child as your
Wow.
parents should have been doing. So it's
Yeah.
possible because they weren't there, and you were forced to do it, or they were there and maybe they were struggling with mental health and or actual physical health, and you had to kind of man up or woman up at such a young age. So you could be hella resentful, right? If you think
Yes.
about it,
Yes.
at the actual person or the grandma or the reason why you had to do too much with your siblings. Or you could actually not even know yourself because your whole life you were all about everybody else being
Yes.
good, that you're
Mm-hmm.
now not. You don't even know what that's like to ask yourself, what do you need? You have no clue to look into yourself and figure out what it is that would make you happy, or what it is that you actually want to do with your life.
Wow.
It gets
That's
really deep in terms of neglect, just neglect alone. And I'm not talking about malnourished. I'm saying that no one
yes.
was like nurturing you emotionally. And so you had to nurture yourself from 0 to like 20. Impossible. You know what I mean?
Wow. That's deep. That's deep that you said that, because say like you've been that parent or just an adult now, and you're always worrying about everybody else, making sure everybody else is fine and everything, and then like now it's like, okay, what do I like to do?
What
What?
do I like? You like 35, 45 years
Yes.
old, have no clue. How
Yes.
about you in a profession that somebody else told you you'd be good at, but you don't even like it? You are literally living somebody else's life because you were making them happy.
Yes.
It's really ballsy to actually stop and ask yourself and then change it. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not only to like hear yourself, figure out what that is, and then to actually change it and like kind of change, shift a little bit to actually find like a level of contentment. That's like one of
Yes.
my favorite words, contentment and satisfaction. And it's a place that a lot of people never hit. Everybody's trying to just survive and trying to get through the
Yeah.
struggle and trying to maintain. It's like, what about thriving? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what about actually like where you really believe your dreams come true? And so many people can hear me talking about this and they're like, this does not happen in life. Like, she is really corny. She is really like hella optimistic. No, I'm talking about real life, like
Yes.
delayed gratification, sacrificing now for the greater later. Like just really sacrificing now, hoping that it comes. And it usually comes within 5 to 15 years. If it's a
Wow.
business, if it could
Mm-hmm.
be prosperity, if it could be the love of your life. But like sometimes you really do have to wait for it. Like it really is worth the wait, but you got to grow in the wait, you know?
Wow. Well, you said a mouthful with that. Yes. 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 Wow. And I think with the social media plays a big part on this whole mental health, good mental health at that, because a lot of people look at social media and look at someone else's life and
Yep.
and it gets in their head, and then they're looking at like their life and like why my life can't be like that, and it's just like
Oh, that's bad. The comparison. Oh my God. I mean, it's
yeah,
really, really bad to the point
yeah,
that it is not only is it addictive, right? The Facebook, the Instagram, the TikTok. It's like you're wondering why your life can't be a certain way, but then you're actually thinking that like their life is really that way. So it's
Yeah, and
so
it's and
chasing
it can't,
what?
yeah, like it can't be. If you look at it, like their life can't be this perfect.
No, not at all.
And but it takes growth to get to that point. So just imagine that one person that's looking at everybody else's life on social media, and then they're looking at their own life and just like feeling all types of way, but then they don't have that positive outlet to let them know, hey, yeah, so and so may be going on all these trips, but why is so and so going on all these trips?
Good
What are
one. You know what I mean? Like maybe they're trying to escape from something. You don't know that
Yes.
part. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
So
Maybe they're
yeah.
looking for love. You know what I mean? Maybe they're paying for sex. Oh, don't nobody talk about that. Okay. There's a
Ooh.
whole like
Ooh.
other places that where there's not as much accountability as it is in the States. Let me just say that. So
Yes.
you go to different countries and then you're like a hot commodity.
Yes.
That's what you need to do to get your type of attention.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So you answer that. And then the okay, so with married couples, let me ask this question. Do you find that like married couples that come to you or have come to you, and you know how people change within time and things like that, and do you find that they're having a problem with that issue with each other growing, but they don't know how to actually grow with each other? Because
So I have a whole theory about like for high school sweethearts that stay together or college sweethearts that stay together, because you really, really, really at 18 obviously have no clue what you need, right?
mm-hmm,
But that love feels so great, and you want to be together forever. But you guys can grow together. I mean, I'm sure there's like 10% or 15% of high school sweethearts that grow together and stay loyal. And then
mm-hmm,
there's the other side of
mm-hmm,
those percentages where you genuinely feel like you're missing out on something for those that fall in love early. So, to answer your question, it will then either breed some type of level of depression because in your mind you want to be out of a relationship where you feel like you need to stay just because of time spent, or
mm-hmm.
history. How many times do people say, we together because we've been together so long? How is that an answer to staying together? Because we've
Yeah.
been together so long. Well, how long have you been miserable? Let's ask that question. I always like to say, do you even still like each other? Because love is easy.
Oh.
So
Oh, that
the
was that question. That response right there. It's like, even ask when you ask, do you even like each other?
yeah,
Still
like
like
why don't
each
we ask
other.
that? Me and my husband, I literally like every week or two,
Uh huh.
I kind of like you this weekend, and I am dead serious. But guess what?
Yes.
I might not have said it the weekend before because I was not his biggest fan, and that's okay. And
Yes.
he'll say the same thing, like, "Oh no, not a fan. You are on one," and I'm like, "You're right. Let me chill out." But the point is, like, because you're gauging that you don't have to fake it. Like that's really what
Yes.
we're talking about. Everybody talk
Yes.
about faking orgasms. I'm talking about faking the idea that you don't want to be around somebody, and then
Ooh.
having that level of conviction, thinking to yourself, how am I married and I'm not enjoying this? Why
This
am I signing
marriage.
up for this? That doesn't mean I need to leave, but maybe I need to say it out loud. I think people change every 5 to 10 years, and your needs change every 5 to 10 years. And of course, it'd be nice if we could recycle each other out every 5 to 10 years, but it don't really work like that, right? Um, no, that's a real thing. Or how your
Yes.
marriage is after the kids are here. What? Or
Yeah.
if you already had kids and then y'all trying to blend, like, are you kidding me? This is crazy making. You know what I mean? Who parents the same that came from two different households? Okay.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody. Who thinks
No.
the money the same that came out of two different households? Nobody. Who thinks the sex
Exactly.
the same that came out of two different households? Okay.
No.
So
Yeah.
either way it goes, like we're never actually the same, but we may have similarities.
Mm-hmm.
You have to remember that after the 15 years of actually being bored. I have a thing that I think
Yes.
I'm gonna start writing a book on. I just thought of this last week about even your favorite bag of chips get stale.
Yes. Because
Yeah.
you after a while you find something different with it, like like I didn't notice it was a little like tangy, you know,
Yeah,
than before.
exactly. Like this ain't really what I wanted,
Yes,
or I didn't even realize, especially when you talk about that comparison mess with the social media, I
yeah,
wish I had that. And so why don't we have that? And it's like,
yeah,
work on it. You want to learn how to dance together? Why don't you start a two-step over here? You know what I mean? Like, or know that that's not y'all's strength. Sometimes we got to stay in our
yes,
daggone lane. We just forever just looking at, oh, look at that car. It's like, aren't you happy about your car being paid for? That's a fly car. I always say that's the sexiest car, a car that has no car note. Okay.
yeah.
I don't
But
care
you
if
know,
that's 5
there's
years
somebody
old or
else.
20 years old. That's a fly car over there. And
Yeah.
so, like yours, take pride in what you have.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Because if
that's
you don't,
okay.
then everything else will look better. I mean, everything down to the
Take
children.
pride
Why
of
my
what
kids
you
aren't as smart
have.
as hers.
Yes, I like that. Take pride of what you have, because if you don't take pride of what you have, that just came when you said that. Like, if you don't take pride of what you have at the moment,
At
like,
the moment, you can hope for more, but just,
yeah,
just a little gratitude.
yeah, yeah. So like, even in your marriage, you know things change. I've been married 16 years,
Oh
so
my. Oh my. I
and me
got
and
a
my
lot of
husband was
questions for you.
me and my husband was talking the other day, and I was just like, let's just be real with each other. Like, what is what is it that you don't like about me now? Because obviously I have changed, because now that
Oh, I
I'm
love that
old,
question. And you can say anything that comes to mind without censoring yourself.
yeah, it may hurt, but I asked the
Yes, I love
question.
that.
You have to be open to the, but that comes with like growth, and wanting to communicate and everything. And I came from a home that we communication was, my mom and dad communicated with each other, we communicated with each other, talking. So I grew up with just asking questions and talking to each other. So it's just like, what do you not like about me now? Like, what is some of the things that you don't like about me now? And I had to listen to it, and you know what, and I had to like say, wow. Okay. So I said to him, like, why didn't you say these things without me asking?
Mm.
Because I feel like if you don't like something
Why did
about
you hold it
somebody,
in? Yeah, thinking
yeah,
maybe a lot of men don't say to women what they really feel because they are making sure that they don't hurt our feelings. I remember when my dad, uncle, and brother said that. It was like, this might be 10 years ago. And they
mm-hmm,
were telling me how men lie because I actually didn't grow up not thinking that men lie. I thought men had integrity and don't make broken promises. That's how I was introduced to men by my father and
yeah,
brother. And a guy had lied to me, and they were like, Tasha, men lie to women because they don't want to hurt their feelings because they actually want to keep you. I'm
mm,
not giving them a pass, but a lot of
yeah,
times it's not because they're just this outright, person that wants to hurt you. It's actually
yeah,
out of protection of your feelings. So I had to learn that. So at times we have to know where it is, what is the motive behind the story that was
yeah,
said.
yes. Wow. Okay. Wow. Well, you gave us some good information. So I hope whoever was listening, who's listening to the podcast, um, get this information, and just know that it's okay if you're starting to feel a little different within yourself. It's okay if you have anxiety. It's okay if you battle with depression. It's okay. You just have to learn to work with it, and live with it, so it can make you be a better person at the end of the day. So, do you have any information that you want to give out to the listeners for tonight?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I have a book called It Ain't the Dishes. It literally is about how couples will argue about the dishes, but it ain't the dishes that they're really arguing about. Each
Wow.
chapter is like, it ain't the trash, it ain't the TV remote, it ain't the toilet seat, it ain't the mother-in-law, it ain't the kids. And so the point is, all the arguments that happen in your household, we get down to what it actually is,
Mm-hmm.
what it ain't. So if anybody wants to get that, that's on my website. You can get that off of drivebytherapy.org or Amazon.
Okay.
And they'll send it right to you. And other than that, anybody that needs a session after you heard a little bit of what I said today, or have been wondering, let me try this out just once, you can also use the contact page on drivebytherapy.org. If not, you can just we can talk over Instagram or
Okay.
Facebook. My name is Doctora Tasha, which is Dr. Tasha in Spanish,
Yes.
Doctora, and then Tasha Tasha. And thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Thank you for joining. And you didn't mention about your little comedy
Oh, that's
session
true. The
that you were
talk show every first Thursday. That was last night. Ooh wee. The topic was on how sexually frustrated are you? So me and a stand-up comedian, we hit any topic that we decide each month in a room full of about maybe 30 to 50 people at a restaurant, and it's like group therapy on steroids.
Okay, I have to check that out. So you guys can follow her on Instagram and Facebook, and you can check out her book that she has available on her website. And thank you so much for coming on to my podcast. I totally appreciate it, and I just I love that you were able to open your calendar to come on. And I want to leave with a little not a little, but I want to leave with a quote that I found on online, and it said it's okay not to be okay.
Yes, I love that.
It's okay not to be okay. You can tell somebody, hey, I'm not okay.
I'm just not okay.
Yeah, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, don't judge it. Just let it come up for you and verbalize it out loud.
Yes, yes, yes. So thank you for coming on again, and I totally appreciate it. And you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Thank you for tuning in for the Change After 40 podcast with Amisha Graham. Thank you. Good night. Graham, we have Miss Alicia Walker. Um, the topic today is the importance of good mental health, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself.
Hello, Change After 40 podcast listeners. My name is Alicia Curry Walker. I want to thank Amisha for inviting me today to talk about mental health. I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Georgia. That means I provide therapy. I also do speaking, training, and I have written 2 books.
Yes, yes, yes. You want to give some information on the 2 books that you written?
Okay. The first book is called I Love Being Married, A Guide to Divorce-Proof Your Marriage. And my husband and I wrote that back in 2013. And then my most recent book was published in December of 2020, and it's called Soul Care, A Guided Prayer Journal and Planner for Women.
Okay, okay. All right. So I wanted to do this topic today because we have so many people that's dealing with mental health issues, and you're finding that a lot of people are, I wouldn't say afraid. I guess it would be ashamed that they're dealing with mental health because of the lack of the support of family members, friends, and they may have lost trust in someone that they have shared, personal issues with, and um, that may just really be dealing with some things and just don't know how to talk to someone about, because the lack of trust and the ashamed part of it, because society has it to where they want to put people that have mental health issues in this box, and then everybody else in this box, instead of, okay, it's just like people that may have that's diabetic or high blood pressure. Mental health is just another illness to the everyday illness that's going on with everybody. But I think a lot of people are just ashamed of to address if they do find that they're having some mental health issues. Would you agree, or what would you say on that part of it?
I would say that I think that today mental health is getting more of a positioning in our society as far as something that's good, as far as getting support and help and service for it. Because I think during the beginning of the pandemic and beyond,
Mm-hmm.
people realized they needed support more than what they could handle on their own. So I do
Yes.
think there is a stigma attached to it. I just think that a lot of the stigmas that may have been there before are beginning to really crumble because those people who thought they could handle things, even those people realized during the pandemic that they needed help too.
Yes, and going through the pandemic really brought out, like before the pandemic, you probably noticed some things changing within yourself, like dealing with anxiety or dealing with depression. But now that the pandemic, during the pandemic, those things really came out in a lot of people, and they didn't know how to handle it or what to just deal with it, period, because they don't know who to talk to, who to trust,
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of issues with that I hear from people a lot of times. Some people say, "Oh, I want to talk to someone," but if you talk to someone, who can I trust?
Mm-hmm.
And so I tell people all the time, go to a therapist, find someone that you don't know to talk to, because sometimes those are the best people to talk to, because they don't know anything about you. You don't know anything about them. They're there to help you through whatever you're going through.
Right. And our job as therapists is really to provide a safe space for people to
Hmm.
be able to deal with what they're going through and to provide a space for people to feel like what they're saying is not being judged.
Hmm.
Because of our code of ethics, we're bound by confidentiality, so we can't
Yes.
share with us anyway. So I think some of it really for people is just the unknown, not really knowing what to expect when you get into the therapy session, not knowing like if the person is going to be a good fit, if you would like them, if they're,
Yeah.
looking at
Yeah.
you funny. It's so many things that people are thinking before they come in, whether it's, virtually or in person. But that's one of the reasons why when I'm working with people, the
Hmm.
point of contact for me is people click a link to set up a virtual 15-minute free consultation. And what
Okay.
it does is it lets down people's guards so they can see
Yes.
the space that I'm in, that I'll be doing the work in with them. Everything I do is virtual at this point, but they get to see the space. They get to see me in my element. They get to see that I don't have two heads. And they also get to be able to tell me like really what the pressing issue is at the moment. And by the end of those 15 minutes, I'm telling them this is something that we can work on, or let me get you a referral, or these are the things I see that we can, deal with if you come work with me. And then we talk about how they can work with me. But I think just giving people more of a sneak peek kind of what it looks like to go to therapy helps people let down their guards.
Yes, I think so too. So how would you recommend someone if they were looking for a therapist to talk, to go to? How would you tell them to go about looking for the right person that's, would be good for them?
Um, I think that there are so many ways out there now that weren't there before.
Hmm.
One of the first ways you could try is you can look for a recommendation or referral from somebody that has seen a therapist that they like, that they, felt like they got some progress with. Another way is just going through your insurance company and
Okay.
asking them for referrals. If you're working, you can ask your employers if they have an EAP. A lot of times you can start taking sessions through an EAP and use those for free before you have to tap into your insurance. You could also go on different listservs or sites that kind of have listings of therapists on there. A couple of them are Therapy for Black Girls, um,
Yes, I saw
Black
that one.
Female
Hmm.
Therapist. There's Therapy for Black Men. There's Psychology Today. There are so many of them out there.
Hmm.
You can also get overwhelmed by
Looking too.
by looking. And so that's why I said start with the referral from somebody right?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
they would have, maybe more of a person that you might feel connected to, that they could see could be helpful to you because they're familiar with maybe what you're concerned about. And at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
just try and reach out to somebody, right?
Yes.
What ends up happening is, like, when people reach out to me and I'm not a fit, let's say, for them, what I'll then do is go to my resources and ask for people who might be a good fit. And then I
Okay.
have a list of like 8 to 10 people to give them,
Okay.
to then go and look for themselves. But it is a process. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is a process in the beginning to find a good fit. But if you kind of know in advance
Mm-hmm.
what you're looking for, then you can kind of use those keywords to search when you're going on the listserv, or you're going to somebody's website, or you're asking a friend about, who they may have used.
Okay. Okay. It's good information for anyone that's listening. So she's telling you how to go about finding the right therapist for yourself. Um, what tips would you give, or recommendation would you give to someone that maybe feeling overwhelmed, stressed, with everyday life? What type of counseling would you recommend for them?
Um, okay, so I'm gonna say that something that's kind of controversial,
Okay.
that people don't, wouldn't expect a therapist to say.
Okay.
So I think that, just like going to your medical doctor,
Uh-huh.
there's a spectrum of things that you're looking for, right? You go see a doctor before you need them for prevention, and you also go see them for when something is wrong, that's intervention. But then there's work that you need to do in between to maintain whatever that thing is. So if, let's say, you have diabetes, you might
Mm-hmm.
see your doctor for prevention to try to prevent you from getting to that point. But let's say
Okay.
now you do have diabetes, you're going to your doctor on a regular basis for intervention. But when you're not in session or at an appointment with them, you're supposed to be doing things on your own to
Yes.
take care of yourself. So I want people to know that therapy is not the only option for people to use, right?
Okay.
Have skills, coping skills, things that we can do to help ourselves out of a state of, sadness or
Yes.
anxiousness. Now, when it gets to the point where that's interfering with your day-to-day life, of course, obviously, you should go see someone. But I
Yes.
don't want people to feel like I can't help myself, and the only thing I can do is go to therapy. That's a piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
Like, going to the doctor is a piece of the puzzle, but you have responsibility to do those things for yourself. And I think when the pandemic hit with so many things going on,
Yes.
realize
Yes.
how few or how little um, that they actually did to cope with stress. Most people just avoid stress. Most
Mm-hmm.
people just avoid depression. Most people just avoid feeling anxious. They cover it up with food. They cover it up with alcohol. They cover it
Wow.
with sex. They cover it up with Netflixing and chilling. They cover
Yes.
it up with scrolling through Facebook, Instagram. They're numbing themselves.
Mm.
And the pandemic forced people to look at, man, I really don't cope well with stress. I really have been avoiding all this stuff in my life, and I really need to get a handle on it. So what I
Yeah.
would say to people who are feeling overwhelmed, stressed, anxious, depressed, yes, go for a therapist, but also figure out your own ways of coping to deal with those things, because the therapy is just an hour. It's an
Yes.
week. And if you're going to intense sessions, it might be a couple times a week, or if you find a program that's, doing groups or whatever, that may be more than once a week. But the reality is there's 24 hours in that day. One of those hours will be with your therapist, or an hour and a half will be with that therapist. What are you going to do with the rest of those 23 hours?
Mm.
And
That's good
that's
information.
you're welcome. That's the point that I want to stress to people, that just like you have to take your physical health
Mm-hmm.
into your own hands to be healthy,
Yes.
You have to take your mental health into your own hands to be healthy. And don't abdicate it to somebody else to be the guru to tell you what to do. I believe in a partnership,
Yes.
whether it's your medical doctor or your therapist, it's a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
I can only give you so much information that will be helpful, but if you don't use it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's so true. That's like, you take, well, metformin for your diabetes, but you're not cutting back on the sugar. So like you're saying, it we could go to a therapist, but we have to find other ways that's going to help us, like, help with the stress, help with the anxiety. So when you going through everyday life, these different tips will help you go along until you go back to your therapist.
Hmm.
So, wow, that's some good information that you're giving the listeners that may be dealing with some of these things or know someone that's dealing with these things. And it's just, it's so like, it's heartbreaking to me because I'm young, and to see so many young people that's dealing with the mental health. Um, and it's just like, I had this question earlier. Do do you find it that a lot of people, let's say parents or guardians, whoever it may be raising the child, do you find it like they see these things are happening in the early age, but they don't want to get that help for that individual because they're afraid that something may be really, really wrong, but then it could be something really, really wrong, and then later in life as an adult, this individual don't know how to get the help or know what to do.
Hmm.
But the parents saw these signs so early on in life, but they just never took the time out to get the help.
I think sometimes, well, I think there's a few things that could be going on. I
Okay.
think sometimes with parents, I think sometimes it is denial. Nobody
Hmm.
wants a sick kid. I don't care who you are. Nobody wants
Yeah.
a sick kid, whether it's from a mental illness or from,
Hmm.
something that they were born with. Like my youngest daughter was born with sickle cell. I wouldn't wish that on anybody, what we went through with
Yes.
her. Nobody wants a sick kid. So I
Hmm.
can see, how parents will be in denial about things going on. Another part of it is, and I keep bringing up the pandemic because it highlighted so many
Yes.
of the things that we as a society need to improve. What it highlighted was that sometimes it's not that the parents don't see it, or that they're ignoring it. It's because they don't know how to deal with it either.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
So if I'm telling my kid, this is what you need to do, this is how you need to do, and blah, 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 or the school is saying this is what you need to handle stress, but nobody's talking to the parents, they
Mm.
don't know either, right? Like if
Yeah.
you're taught that in your home, you don't know what the signs and symptoms are for depression. Uh,
Yeah.
Clinical depression anyway. Everybody got a little sadness, or they'll say, somebody had a nervous breakdown. Well, what does that mean? Right.
Right.
And so I think a part of it is we just have never really had the language in our homes to say, this is something that's been happening and this is how you get the support. And
Hmm.
then, again, like I said, sometimes it's just denial because, again, nobody wants to have a kid that's sick. And in the sometimes in the Black Christian community, they think we can just pray it away and, that's all we need to do. But I believe in Jesus and therapy.
Yes, 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 yes. I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Um, in what situation would you recommend that a person seek counseling?
I think people should seek counseling if they feel it's needed for them, right?
Okay.
Um, Sometimes there are specific symptoms that could be displayed, but if you feel like, you know what, I really am not handling what I have going on well, let me try to put words to that and find somebody that matches my need. Um, and I think it can be just as simple as that, because sometimes it's just a matter of, I just need somebody else to talk to help me process all of what is going on in my life. I'm just overwhelmed by life, right?
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it is, I really do have probably a diagnosis of depression. I'm eating too much, I'm sleeping too much, I'm cranky, I'm irritable. If somebody says something to me, I'm snapping at them. I
Yes.
don't really want to go out with friends anymore. If people call me, I avoid the phone calls. I'm pretending like I'm happy, but I'm really not. And this has been going on for weeks now.
Yes.
See somebody. Or if, you're having overwhelming feelings of anxiety where you're feeling stressed and you really have no control over it. Your mind is racing. Your body is jittery. You have trouble sleeping at night. You're just, your body feels like it's on fast forward.
Mm-hmm.
You can't slow it down. Go see somebody. I mean, but your symptoms for something else might look totally different.
Different. Yeah.
Why it's important too to know your body, to know when you're not at your best, to know when, okay, something is off with me. Let me go figure it out. And especially if you've gone to the doctor and they don't have an answer for you either. Like, I mean, a medical doctor.
Yes.
Sometimes what we present as medical issues really are signs and symptoms of a mental health issue. So like our gut, our stomach is connected to our brains. So
Yes.
a lot of people display anxiety in their bellies. Like one of my daughters, and I won't name which one, so I won't embarrass
Yes. Yes.
her. But when she was younger, when she would get really anxious, I called it the bubble guts. She would, you know, she
Yes.
had diarrhea, her stomach would be bubbling, and she would just have a really nervous stomach. And so our bodies reflect if you have tension in your back and your shoulders, if you're getting frequent headaches, um, it's just so many different things. But I would just say know your own body. And when things are not lining up the way you think they should, and you might be having trouble pinpointing what it is,
Yes.
put some language around it so you know, like, kind of what to ask for when you're asking for help. But a good therapist will be able to take what you give them to help you figure out what it is.
Okay. Okay. So say if someone is starting to experience some things, would you, and they're hesitant about going to a therapist,
Mhm.
would you recommend them to maybe get a journal and start writing down when they're feeling this type of way, or if they're in a situation that makes them feel this type of way, so they can pinpoint what's making them either depressed or have anxiety. So if they see that it's becoming more rapid, when they go see a doctor, they'll have it written down of what, when it started and how it starts, and would you recommend that, or
I
just
love journaling, first of all. So
okay?
said something that's my jam. I mean, my book is partly a journal. I
Yes.
love journaling for for the fact of it gives you a look into your own history and how you deal with things, how you cope with things. And it can also give you answers to what you might be looking for today. I liken it to the song that says, if he did it before, he'll do it again. Like, just
Yes.
you, like, there are things that you might be going through today that you've gone through before.
Hmm.
You could have the answer for this thing that you're going through today if you had been journaling. Now, journaling is not everybody's jam. So,
Yes.
but journals are good as far as documentation of when this feeling or these things occur, like what maybe some of the trigger points of what made it start in the first place, or what were some of the surrounding issues. That really is a good idea. So just like one of my daughters has to do like a scan because she has headaches. And so we've had to keep a
Uh-huh.
headache journal and try to give as much detail as possible. So when we go in there, they can say, help them get the diagnosis of maybe what is or isn't going on.
Yes.
And so it can be just as helpful when it comes to counseling. But for those people who don't like to write, you can speak to talk, like in Google.
Yes.
The Google Docs, there's a
Oh, okay.
on there that you can press that will record what you say and it types it out. You can do that. Or I always have people who don't like to write, I'll ask them to use voice notes on their phone just to record a voice note. Or if you're more of a video person, do that. Record a video of yourself talking. But just something that can help you keep track of it. And that's something that I use with my clients as well to help them in the process of, going through what it is that we're trying to work on so they can see the patterns that might be forming, and be able to recognize when something is maybe triggering that thing to happen.
Wow, I like the information that you're giving. So if someone is listening, they're getting information to know what to do and how to go about doing it. And going to a therapist is not as stressful as some people tell others that it is, and it's not. Because when we was growing up in my household, my mom, my parents would have us to go to a therapist, and it's just to talk about how you feel, learn how to express yourself and that thing. So when people say, oh, they don't want to go to a therapist or they're afraid, like I have done it when I was younger. Like I don't think nothing's wrong with it. I think it's awesome. It's you need to talk. I think everybody needs to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Just talk to someone. And I had an issue with talking to close friends about personal stuff because it comes back in certain ways. So I found myself holding a lot of things in the inside, and I'm just like, you know what? That's not good for me, and it's not good for my family, because I'm just letting all this stuff just come in. And it took for me to surround myself around other women, and people in general, and just express, just talk. And when you find people that you could just talk to and not have to worry about what you talk to them about later, it's like a beautiful thing. So that's why I tell a lot of people, find someone that you really don't know, or just try to journal, write it out. Sometimes people feel better after they write things out. And listening to different music opens your mind up to declutter some of that cloudiness that's going on in there. That's what is your thought on that?
Oh, you're giving some great tips, because our
Okay.
bodies aren't meant to hold on to all of what we try to hold on to. Our bodies are not meant to hold on to the amount of stress that we do. Our bodies aren't meant to hold on to the amount of sadness, anxiousness, stress that we hold on to. Our bodies aren't meant for that. Our bodies are meant to feel it, deal with it, and move on. And the
Yeah.
reason why we are so sick as a group of people or as a nation is because we're holding on to so many negative emotions. Bodies aren't equipped to hold on to it. And so
Yeah.
talking it out is helpful. Having other ways of dispersing that out of your body is important. And therapy is one of those things that helps you do that.
Yes. Yes. And I wanted to talk about the some people really hold on to childhood trauma, and I think some people don't know how to let it go, or they haven't found the right tools and things to let go of this childhood trauma that plays a big part in their life today as adults. you know and a lot of people suffer with a lot of things, so it's just, at the end of the day, it's just, you need to go find a therapist or someone that you could talk to, let this stuff out, so you won't walk around feeling so heavy, so tight, just just all over the place, you know.
Mhm.
I
I will say that trauma is a different animal.
Yeah,
Not all therapists are equipped to
to deal with
deal
that.
with that. In particular, childhood trauma is a definite different animal. So it's important that you find somebody, if that's what you're coming to say, that I want to deal with this so that I can better function today, then you want somebody who understands the impact of childhood trauma on your life and how it affects your day to day, and that is deeper than, even especially for Black people in the United States, just this
Hmm.
present moment of childhood trauma. We're carrying trauma from generations of.
Yes. That.
So having somebody understand and being able to recognize that is important. So just as much as we're, expressing going to therapy, I want you to go to the right therapist, right? So that's why when I said earlier, kind of have an idea of
Hmm.
what it is that you want to deal with, like have some language around it. So when you go to look for that person, you can have some questions or a way for them to kind of get an idea of what you're trying to deal with. And specifically when it's dealing with trauma, you want somebody who has some knowledge about it, beyond just the basics. So like you go to a specialist, let's say
Hmm.
gynecologists, they specialize in women's bodies versus just a general practitioner. You want somebody who specializes and understands trauma if that's what you're going in to deal with, so that you're not then re-traumatized.
Yes. Yes. Good information. So, someone is dealing with that, you need to find the right person that's going to be able to help you with that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, a good mental health is good to have. You have to have good mental health to just get through the everyday life. I was looking at your website
Mhm.
and I saw the courses that you have for anxiety. How to overcome with your anxiety.
Mhm.
And I was reading over it and I was just like, wow, this is awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. You have a lot of information.
Thank
So
you.
do you want to talk about that for the listeners, anyone that's listening and that maybe dealing with anxiety or need to overcome anxiety, they can, reach you regarding that and how to reach you about your book or just give information about everything.
Okay, so my website is aliciacurrywalker.com, and my first name is spelled Alisha. So it's aliciacurrywalker.com. And I have a course on there that you can purchase, and it is on how to overcome anxiety. It is a video course. You can listen to it in audio if you prefer. And it also comes with, and I believe it's like 47-page workbook. And so
Mm-hmm.
the course kind of walks you through um, what is anxiety, where your personal anxiety may come from, how to recognize the signs and symptoms of anxiety in your everyday life, like your cycle of anxiety, of what triggers it for you, and then walking you through the steps of recognizing what it looks like. And then by the end of it, you come to a place where you have your own personalized plan with different tips and tools that you can use
Oh wow.
to deal with the anxiety that you may have. So I can't remember, but I think the video is about hour and or 2 hours, it might be at the most. And you can break it up. You don't have to do it all at once. But the way that I write, the way that I do my workbooks, I don't believe in just giving you information. I believe in giving you information, and then what are you going to do with it? And so
Mm-hmm.
even with the book that I wrote last year, I call it like um, therapy in a book. And people have taken the book with them to their therapist. They use it as their own personal journal, but it's chock full of information on really how to become the woman that God has called you to be. Uh,
Yes.
and then walking that out into, by the end of it, there's a planner that helps you create a plan of action to become that woman in a 3-month planner. And so it's very different. I was actually reading through it today for something that I'm planning, and I'm just excited about, the way that God partnered with me to write it. It's definitely, God was sitting with me as I was doing it. It's not something that I could have written on my own.
Wow.
Yes.
And I was reading, the all different things that you're going over with the course, and it's some awesome stuff. And it's only 2 hours. It's a 2-hour course. So sometimes you waste 2 hours doing nothing, So it's a good course to go, and she has some good information on her website. So give the listeners your website, your social media information, so they can reach out to you, or if they know someone that may be in need of a therapist virtual.
Okay, so again, my website is aliciacurrywalker.com, and that is me on social media, or Alicia C. Walker. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I don't really do Twitter as much anymore, but I'm on there too. And then on my website, if you go to the shop page, you can click to have a free 15-minute consultation. You can choose the date and time that works best for you. And then as far as doing counseling with people, I'm in the state of Georgia, so I can only provide counseling with people in Georgia. But I'm going to share a little secret with you. I'm working on getting my credentials to be able to also provide counseling virtually in Florida. For within the next month or so. So I'm excited.
Congratulations, because you got it. You got it. So we're gonna congratulate you in advance, because you have it.
Thank you.
Yes. And I want to say thank you for taking time out to come onto my podcast and discuss a very important topic that a lot of people are afraid to talk about, that needs to be talked about like anything else. Like, we talk about TV shows, we talk about clothing. We need to talk about mental health, because everybody needs to be okay with their mental health, and to know to identify if they need help, or if they just need to de-stress themselves from some things. And some people, sometimes that helps too.
Yeah.
Like revamp your friends, revamp your life, revamp just doing things differently, eating, getting that better relationship with God. that helps a whole lot too. So I want to thank you, and I totally appreciate everything. And please go and check out her website. She has some awesome things on here. She has a Facebook group page that you can check out, that she gives good tips on daily, that can help you if you know someone that may be going through some things, that check her out. And I want to thank everyone for tuning into the Change After 40 podcast this evening. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you. Have a good night.